welcome back to my channel. This is my first video of 2017. How exciting is that? I'm kicking it off with a bang this year because I am starting a new series on this channel. Very excited about. I've been thinking about doing this for a really long time, and I hope you guys are as excited about this idea as I am. I mentioned it on my vlog channel, and everyone on my vlog channel seemed to be really excited about it. So today is the first episode in a new series called Where Is, and it's gonna be about missing people. Now it sounds kind of weird, like why do you want to talk about missing people? Well, literally every year thousands and thousands of people go missing across the world. I thought it would be a really good idea to start talking about some of these cases because not only are they really fascinating, I've been really interested in people disappearing for years, but I also thought it would be very helpful to spread awareness about these people, share their stories, share their photos, and if someone happens to see one of my videos and recognizes the person, then hey, maybe we'll solve one of these cases. It's a long shot, but maybe. If you like the idea of the series, give this video a big thumbs up. The first case that I'm going to be talking about is Madeleine Mccann. It's definitely one of the most heavily reported on cases in the whole world. People are still trying to figure it out to this day, even though it happened in 2007. I would definitely say it's as popular as the JonBenet Ramsey case, probably around the same. Like, that's how big of a deal this case is. And I'm saying that because I honestly didn't even before, like 6 months ago, didn't even know who Madeleine Mccann was. And I bet a lot of people out there don't either. So I just want to explain to you guys that this is a really, really big and famous case. Now there is tons and tons of information out there, theories out there, and details that I'm not gonna be able to cover every single thing that I want to, or else this video would be like literally 4 hours long. But let's go ahead and jump into this case. April 28th of 2007, the Mccann family, which here they are, decided to go on a family trip to an area called Prada de Luz. So we're gonna start with Google Maps so that I can show you the area that this took place so you actually know where in the world we're talking about, since this is going to an international audience. Okay, so this case takes place in Portugal, in Praia de Luz. And the actual case takes place right here at the Luz Ocean Club. I think it's Luz or Luz, or I'm not completely sure, but here it is, okay? Here is the street view of the club, I believe. On this vacation, their oldest daughter, Madeleine, here's a picture of her. She was actually only 3 years old, but she was older than her 2 twin siblings. Sadly, she went missing on their trip. She's still a missing person to this day. It's unclear exactly what happened to her. Nobody actually knows, or somebody does, and they're not telling us. And these are her parents, Kate and Jerry Mccann. They're both very smart people. They're both doctors, and they went on this trip with a couple other families, kind of like a group family trip. They were on the vacation with 7 other of their friends, and I think 8 children in total. This place wasn't really like a hotel. From my research, it seemed like it was more of like rent apartments, kind of like an Airbnb type thing, but like it's all owned by the same company, maybe just like condos, because they weren't really like a hotel, if that makes any sense. So all the families had their own little apartments. The Mccanns were staying in 5A, one of their friends were staying in 5B, and one of them was staying in 5D, so they had multiple different apartments. A couple days into their trip on May 3rd, unfortunately, Madeleine disappeared. They had spent the whole day together, like playing at the pool, everything was good. I think the dad had a tennis lesson, the mom went running, and there's a picture, this is the last picture of Madeleine Mccann sitting by the pool that day. What's very strange about this case, and I think why so many people are so bothered by it, is the parents were pretty irresponsible. It's really hard to judge other parents because we've all made judgment calls that aren't good, or almost done something wrong, or maybe did do something wrong and didn't mean it. My parents would let us like run around at night by ourselves, and you know, it's a different world, so I probably wouldn't do that with my kids. It seemed like every night the Mccanns and their friends would go to this restaurant called like a tapas restaurant, tapas or whatever that's called, like the small place, I think that's what it is. So they would go to this small tapas restaurant in the like area. So it was literally on the other side of the pool. So it was like the apartments or whatever, and then the pool, and then the restaurant that they were at. And the parents would leave the kids there at night. All of the parents that had kids on this trip, they would leave their kids there and they would go check on them every 30 minutes. Now, I thought about it and I was like, my mom definitely would have done that. But then I was thinking, and my parents, there's no way they would have left me at age 3. I mean, that's really young. I feel like if you're gonna leave kids on their own. I feel like they need to be maybe like 10, even maybe 8. I mean, I'm not a parent or anything, but I think 3 is a very absurd age to leave a child by themselves. Even if you do check on them every 30 minutes, they could choke, something really, really bad could happen and you won't be there. I mean, I just think that's a horrible, horrible move. Now, I'm sure in hindsight, they wish they could go back and change this. But man, I mean, that was a bad move. So at 8:35 on May 3rd, they went to dinner like they normally do and left the kids in their apartments locked. But not all the way. The restaurant was 50 yards from the apartments, and what really sucks is they left the back sliding door open, and that's because you could only lock it from the inside. You can't lock it from the outside. So they decided that it would be best to just leave it open, which is very silly in my opinion. So at 8:55, one of the adults at the group, his name was Matt, decided to go check on the kids. Everything was cool. He comes back and has dinner. At 9:05, Madeleine's father, Jerry, decided to go back to the apartment and check on them again. Now, they were coming in through the patio door. They decided not to go in and out of the front door because they just wanted to keep that locked, and they didn't want to wake the kids when they were coming back in with the key and everything, so they decided to just go in and out through that unlocked patio door. So when he went into the apartment, he noticed that the room that the kids were in, his kids, was slightly more open than it was when he left. Like the door had kind of been opened. He looked into the room and he says that he saw both of the twins and also Madeleine in their beds sleeping, and he thought everything was fine and went back to the restaurant. Sadly, that was the last time that Jerry would see his daughter. On his way back, Jerry saw one of his, I believe it was like a friend or someone that he knew that was also staying at the resort named Jeremy, and he walked across the street to talk to him, and he spent several minutes talking to him. Now, he didn't notice that Jane Tanner, which was another one of their friends from the restaurant, walked by them because she was on her way to go check on her kids. So apparently she saw them, but they didn't see her. And she also saw a man a little further up the road from her. He was going in the opposite direction of the apartment complex, like towards the main road, and he was walking quickly, according to her, and he was carrying a little girl around age 3 or 4 in a pair of pink pajamas who was laying limply in his arms. She thought that the sighting was slightly odd, but also figured, you know, she's at a resort and it could just be someone carrying their sleeping child. So she didn't think much of it and went to go check on her kids. They were fine, so she went back to the table. At 9:30, one of their friends, Matthew Oldfield, went to go check on all of the kids. He went into the Mccann's apartment and noticed it was all quiet. I guess he peeped in and he saw that the twins were sleeping in their bed, but the lights were off, and I guess from the angle he stood, he couldn't see Madeleine. He figured she was just there though, since everyone was sleeping and quiet. He said he can't remember if he saw any doors open or any windows or anything like that. His story was a little bit odd, and police really had a hard time with him because they started thinking that maybe he had some involvement, but it's never been proven. Then at 10 o'clock, Kate decides to go check on her own children, so she walks back to her apartment. According to her, she was reaching out to the children's bedroom door to shut it, and she noticed that when she shut it, that the door kind of slammed shut, which made her realize that there was a window open or something in their room, because I don't know exactly how that works, but I bet a lot of you guys know what I'm talking about. In my bedroom as a kid, whenever we'd leave the window open, the door would just open and shut and open, slam, shut. And it's totally just like the suction from the window. So she opened the door immediately and found that Madeleine was not there. The twins were just sound asleep in their beds. There was a waist-high window in the room, and when she went in there, she said the curtains were just kind of blowing in the wind. She, of course, frantically leaves. She left the other 2 kids just sleeping there, which I thought was a strange move, and ran back to tell the others. When they talked to Jane Tanner, she said, "Oh my God, I saw a man carrying a little girl in pink pajamas. It was probably Madeleine." So the police were finally called at 10:15, and they didn't get there till 10:30, so 30 minutes after she first noticed that Madeleine was gone.
Last night, the family emerged to make a brief appeal for help from the public. Mrs. Mccann clutched a child's toy while her husband spoke.
The anguish and despair that we are feeling as the parents of our beautiful daughter Madeleine. We request that anyone who may have any information related to Madeleine's disappearance, no matter how trivial, contact the Portuguese police and help us get her back safely.
Locals and holidaymakers have joined the police in search in the area. Maps and photos of the missing girl have been handed out. The Algarve is hugely popular with British tourists. Crime is low, so the police here have limited resources, but many people have volunteered to help. The police are checking out one possible sighting about 8 hours after Madeleine disappeared. Just before dawn, a motorist said that his car headlights picked out a couple on the road. They had a child with them, and according to him, It looked as if they were trying to avoid being seen. Madeleine's grandparents have also flown in from England to lend support and defended the decision to leave the children alone in the apartment. Her grandmother said Jerry and Kate were good parents who'd been watching the apartment from their table in the restaurant. Family have been critical of the efforts of the Portuguese authorities, but the British ambassador here says everything possible is being done.
An Irish couple that were there that night reported that they saw a man carrying a little blonde girl down to the beach area, which was about a 4-minute walk from the apartment. They described the person that they saw to the police, and these were the 2 sketches that they came up, and this is for the same person. Now, it's crazy because I talked about this in my other video about Pizzagate, the Pizzagate conspiracy theory, and tons of people think that Madeleine McCann was taken by John and Tony Podesta, who are involved with the Clintons. John Podesta is Hillary Clinton campaign manager, and then his brother Tony. People think that the sketches are of them. I was like blown away by that too, because they look so freaking similar. It's just nuts. I didn't realize that the sketch is of the same person. They're just 2 different sketches in 2 different styles, so they're not like 2 different people, but it does resemble them. One of the theories is that she wasn't taken at all, that she was killed in the resort, and that is definitely possible. When they brought in a cadaver dog to look in the apartment, the dog picked up on 2 areas. One was behind the bed, and I think one was in the parents' closet. They also had them search their rental car, and the dog also identified the cadaver smell in the back trunk of the car, which is very odd. The McCanns at one point became actual suspects. They were under intense media scrutiny. I mean, everyone in the world looking down on them, calling them horrible parents, and I mean, accusing them of all types of things.
Obviously, the resort you were in had lots of nanny facilities, and they weren't that expensive to use, and you both were professionals earning money. Another criticism that's put to you is, why didn't you just pay to have a nanny if you wanted to go out for dinner?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a question of money. We did what we thought was best in the kids' routines, and I think as parents we had a very good routine in terms of the whole bath, bed, story type thing. And I take your point, but for me, you know, if your children are asleep upstairs in a bedroom and you're dining in the garden, you're out of sight and you can't hear them. And that's the similar thing to me. We were,
except I guess that most people's homes are secure.
Sure.
You know, this was not a secure property. People could come in and off the street if they wanted to. That's where the criticism, I guess, comes at its most fierce towards you, is, you know, you're intelligent people.
They might be guilty, but they might not. They actually did become police suspects at one point, but they were later cleared. However, their behavior has been fairly odd. I'm gonna put a TED Talk in the description box about how to spot a lie. Very fascinating. It's quick. It's interesting. I promise you guys should definitely watch it. The McCanns don't show very much emotion. They don't seem like grieving parents to the rest of us. I mean, most people don't know what it's like to lose a kid, so you can't really judge someone's grief. I think that's, you know, it's definitely something you can be suspicious about, but you surely shouldn't blame an entire crime on someone just because they're not maybe acting the way you think they should. Both of their body language seemed like they were lying. Strange things like smile after talking. Maybe they accidentally killed her. Maybe she took a tumble down the stairs, or some people have accused the father of giving her some type of like sleeping pill. Not gonna lie, my parents one time, they told me they drugged me for a plane. They gave me NyQuil. I mean, it wasn't like drugging, it was like, I think it was like children's Tylenol, but to, you know, calm a child down. I think a lot of parents out there actually give their kids, I mean, you definitely shouldn't do this, but a lot of parents give their kids like a Tylenol PM or something with a little bit of, just to take the edge off when they take airplanes or anything like that. So people think it's possible that Jerry or Kate could have drugged her so that she would just go to sleep in the apartment. They could go have dinner with their friends because they seemed like that's what they were really focused on. And many people think that maybe she had a bad reaction or overdosed or something and they didn't want to go to jail, so they got rid of her. Totally, it's possible that they could have gotten rid of her. I've thought about it several times. I was just thinking about that strange conversation that Jerry had on his way back to the restaurant after he checked on Madeleine, and he was talking to this guy, remember Jeremy, and Jane Tanner walks by and sees a man carrying a girl to the beach. So I sometimes wonder if that man was actually Jerry and he went back, found her dead or something, or maybe it's part of their plan the whole time and just ditched her body in the ocean, which is definitely possible. And the ocean, I'm sure, is filled with a lot of missing people. It's possible that all the friends are in on it. Maybe they all didn't want to get in trouble for some type of lack of responsibility. So what if Jerry was really talking to Jeremy and the whole thing went exactly like Jane Tanner said? And the guy that she described, this is a picture that the police released of, it's just like a sketch of what she described him as, which she officially described him as a white man in his 30s with short brown hair, medium build, and clean shave. She said that the girl he was carrying was aged 3 to 4, blonde, possibly wearing pajamas. So what about the Irish couple who saw the man that, according to them, looked a lot like John and Tony Podesta? They saw the man at about 10, which is around the time that Kate went to go check on Madeleine. They said that she was wearing pajamas and that she was kind of in an uncomfortable position. Her head was like slumped up against the guy. It's totally possible that the guy that Jane saw is the same guy that the Irish couple saw, and it was really someone carrying Madeleine's body. Another theory that people have is that she possibly just left the apartment on her own. Which, side note, I also think it's a little weird that the first thing that Kate said when she found Madeleine was missing is, they took her. She immediately went to, she was kidnapped, she was taken, someone took her. And that's kind of strange, because I think my immediate reaction would be like, she's gone. She may have been taken, but she may have just wandered off. I mean, we left an unlocked door. So the entire club kind of got tampered with as far as like footprints and stuff like that, because Kate caused such a scene when Madeleine was gone, as any mother would, that a ton of people started coming out, like it started building up crowds, which adds a ton of other DNA footprints and everything. So it was really hard to tell if she possibly could have left on her own. It also would be pretty hard for a little girl to open the door. She's only 3 years old, but it's possible maybe she was sick and she went to go find her mom and left and someone took her that way. Another really interesting element of this case is that that morning on May 3rd, according to Kate, this is straight from her mom, says that Madeleine asked her, why didn't you guys come last night when we were crying? Because they were probably at dinner again the night before and they were alone in the apartment. It's possible that she was just crying because she missed her parents and they didn't come and she was sad or whatever. It's also possible that someone came in there and messed with them or scared them or something like that, or creeped them out and made them cry. I mean, it's a 3-year-old, it's really hard to get exact information from them. Their memories aren't great. And she also noticed a large brown stain on her pajama top. So it seems to me that it's kind of generally believed that she was abducted or the parents had something to do with it. It seems to be the two major theories that people have, whether that was someone just abducting her, just taking her, or it's possible she was put into sex trafficking, which happens all the time all over the world, and most cases are not covered by any media. I mean, honestly, if someone was trying to look for a child to take, I could definitely see them like going to a resort like this where parents are, you know, relaxing, drinking, having fun, aren't completely on guard. It's not their normal situation, so they're not like as locked down as they probably would be in their house. Kate even said that she wrote, I believe when she was making reservations at the tapas restaurant, she wrote somehow that the kids were going to be alone in the apartment, that she was going to leave them there. And she believes that someone may have seen that, which is very, very possible. It's also possible that someone saw them leaving their kids, like someone was going in and out of this apartment with an unlocked door, not locking it behind them, and there must be kids in there, and eventually went in as soon as one of them left. They knew that, you know, they came about every 30 minutes. Maybe as soon as Jerry left, someone came in, took her, and then Kate came and found her gone. So this is interesting. Earlier that day, there were 2 men that apparently, according to witnesses, went to the Mccann's apartment looking for money to donate to an orphanage. Witness reports say that they saw the men leaving the apartment around 4 p.m. and a couple witnesses said that they even saw them looking around, kind of trying to make sure no one saw them there. On May 5th, a trucker actually called an anonymous tip line in Spain for missing children and reported something very weird that he saw. This took place in a town about 25 miles from the resort. I think it's called Silves or something like that. He said that he saw a blonde woman hand a child over to a man who was bundled up in blankets, this child, and was put into the backseat of a car. This man was actually interviewed and was deemed a credible witness, so it's very possible that he did see Madeleine being transferred somewhere. And it's really sad, but the sex trafficking world is like an industry. It's crazy. There's so many children in sex trafficking and women in men even. It's unbelievable. So it's very possible that that's what happened to her, which is incredibly, incredibly sad. It is still an open case. They're still investigating. The McCanns are not suspects anymore. There are plenty of other theories out there that I've heard, but if you have any others, leave them in the comments. Let me know what you guys think happened to Madeleine. The case is still completely open. There are tons and tons of theories out there, tons of details that I couldn't cover. If you have a theory that is different from anything that I've talked about, be sure to leave it in the comments so that other people can read them. Tell me what you guys think. Do you think that it's possible that the parents did it and covered it up? Is it possible that someone took her? Do you think she's still alive? Is she still out there? Did she just wander off on her own? We honestly may never know, but in the comments, let me know what you think. If you have any information or recognize the men or just literally anything that would help investigators find Madeleine McCann, I will have information in the description box about how to go about getting that information to the right people. Here's another photo of Madeleine. She has blonde hair, blue greenish eyes with a small brown spot on her left calf, and she has a distinctive dark strip on the iris of her eye kind of going up from the bottom. So I hope you guys are excited about this series. I think it's another really interesting series for me to do, and I'm really looking forward to covering many cases this year. I have a lot that I want to talk about and a lot of people that I think need exposure, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.